presentando la mejor programación en vivo desde Arlington, Texas, la capital del deporte, los espectáculos y el entretenimiento. La mejor plataforma en su tipo. El mejor contenido y diversión para todos.
Hey everyone, happy Monday, December the 4th. Can you believe that? I'm telling you, the time is going so fast. It wasn't just long ago we were celebrating Thanksgiving. Now we're getting ready for Santa Claus. How about that? And it's a beautiful day. Sun shines out. We're in Arlington, Texas, the capital of entertainment, sports, and all kinds of agendas. I'm here with the CEO, Angel Martinez, and he's happy that I'm correctly announcing the great city of Arlington. So thank you, CEO. And we're here with our co-host, Sonia Montenegro.
Happy Monday, everyone.
And we're going to have a special guest today. And let me tell you, this is a special guest. So you're going to learn a lot. But in the meantime, let's get ready and say, how was your Thanksgiving?
Well, I can't complain. It was great. You know, a lot of food. We ate a lot of food. Quality time with the family.
Oh,
It's
wasn't
amazing.
it wonderful?
Yes. How was yours?
That was great. I overate, but it was intentional. I had dessert. I had everything. Great food, great company. I think we had a Cowboy game, didn't we?
Yes, I think so.
Did we win?
Yeah.
All right, we won.
Almost lost, but in the last time, one touchdown and we.
Yay. Awesome.
See, we like when they win because Angel's not in a good mood if they lose. So we have to make sure.
And we have to deal with his
'cause
bad.
he's America's team right
course.
there, T-shirt. So we got to keep the CEO happy, you know.
Yeah,
But,
my birthday the last Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we got the World Soccer coming, and I tell you, all kinds of great things happening here. And we did a small trip to a little town called, it was not so little, it's pretty nice. It's Palestine, Texas. We took the Polar Express. If you haven't done that, please do it. I mean, it is a lot of fun. It's the first time I've seen where everybody's told to wear pajamas.
Wow.
So everywhere I went, everybody's wearing pajamas. I'm like, uh-oh. But I left.
Were you wearing your pajamas? Your Christmas PJs?
I had my Superman pajamas because I don't have a Polar Express pajama. With my cape and everything, walking around.
Oh, wow.
They said, wrong person. Oh, okay, sorry. But it was kind of fun. We went to a hotel that it's the Redland. It's one very historic.
Built in 1914.
Yeah, and it was really nice. And then we had dinner, and we had a lot of fun. And I brought some things. I even met in the hotel. There's a art shop, and it's owned by the restaurant's called Queen Saint Grill. It's in the hotel. Food is delicious. You're gonna like everything in there. And then they have a studio, and we have a video that's going to be put on the chamber Facebook. But we had the owner.
The art gallery. He's
Who's
from
the art-
Arlington.
What?
He's from Arlington.
He's from Arlington. He owns the art studio there. It was fantastic. It's an art gallery. Great paintings. Had a nice visit with him. Stopped by to visit some of the businesses and met with the Chamber of Commerce over there. Great people. It was really fun. It's So, you always have to mix a little business with pleasure. So I had to do my little sales call on the Chamber of Commerce, but we got to know some fine people. So I thank everybody. But now let's get to the important things. What do you think, Sonia?
Yes, let's go ahead and do that.
Now I got a hard question for Sonia. What is cybersecurity to you?
To me, it's protecting, or anything. I guess when you're in technology, I guess your computer, your phones, But I'm sure we'll get a better answer from the expert here.
We will, and we're here with Mike.
I'm sure there's a better way to describe it.
I know he's going to educate us on that because that's what it is.
Much needed over here, so I'm glad you're here.
Thanks for having me.
As you could tell where we are, Mike, we're kind of gibbering, but now we're going to get serious. Mike Saylor from CEO at Black Swan Cybersecurity. How about that? I mean, we're talking to some real knowledgeable people here. You also teach classes, and I mean, Mike, tell us who you are, because I know everybody's waiting to find out.
Well, I think first and foremost, I'm an educator, so I love to learn and share what I learn and help other people kind of understand whatever that topic is. But I'm also a dad. I think maybe that's where that came from. But I'm very passionate about cybersecurity, security in general. I started my career a long time ago doing intelligence work, and then I got into just about everything related to IT. And then knowing more about IT and figuring out, or at least being involved with or experiencing a lot of the risks and problems that IT and connecting things and data and all of that brings about. That lent itself then to figuring out, well, how do we protect all of that? And so over the last 30 years, just migrating from building technology to protecting technology. But back to your point about, well, what is cyber? It's more than just the tech. It's more than just your data.
Oh.
It's all the risks that go along with that. So, for example, if you lost your cell phone, that's an IT problem. That's a technical problem. But if someone was able to get into your cell phone, well, that's a security problem.
Right.
Well, then what do they do with all that information? That's a cyber problem.
Yes.
So they've stolen your identity. They're posting stuff on social media as if it was you. So there's your reputation down the drain. They're able to use access your bank. So there's financial impact. Maybe you rely on that cell phone to do your job. So now there's operational impact. You don't know what your calendar is. You don't know where you're supposed to go, who to call. So that's an example of the difference between a technology problem and a cyber problem.
Okay, yeah, I see. That makes more sense. Yeah.
So, and as an educator, you try to figure out examples of those different topics that are relatable.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been teaching for 24 years as well, and so whenever you have a class of very diverse, not just people, but there's a diversity in the way people learn, and so being able to figure out, telling a story or an example one way to one set of students and another, and then over time just figuring out a more cohesive or adaptable message is something I'm pretty good at as well.
Okay, nice. And where do you educate? Do you go to school? Do you just your clients? I mean, where do you normally go talk to people?
Everywhere I can. So I love public speaking. I love opportunities like this. But I am a professor for the University of Texas at San Antonio. I teach cyber and digital forensics and incident response there. Prior to that, I helped build the cybersecurity education programs for a lot of the North Texas colleges and universities. I do also go down into the high schools to try and support the passion for cybersecurity. There's a lot of high school focused competitions that really teach you what you need to do, but not the why. And so you get a lot of students that can check the box, but they didn't know why they did
why
that.
they're doing it. Mm-hmm.
So some of that mentoring as well. And then just professionalism. Professionally, people call and go, hey, I'm an accountant, but I want to do cyber. What does that look like? And, doing some of that career mentoring to help people figure out if cyber is right for them. And if it is, how do they get there?
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, and that's funny because a lot of people think cybersecurity is somebody else's problem,
Nope.
and
It's everybody's
and
problem.
it's everybody's problem.
Yep.
Your system at home, your system at work, when you connect your home to your office, when you connect to other people's computers, your email, your social media, uh, it's such a big thing that people just like, wow, I thought it was Microsoft's problem.
Mhm.
I thought it was the government's problem, but it's not. So, what do you tell a small business just starting up? They don't really have a lot of money, but where do they start? I mean,
Well, a lot of it is what we call a risk assessment. So figuring out, based on how you do your business and how your business works, where are the risks to your business? So, for example, radio show, your biggest risk is probably connectivity. How do I get my information out to our listeners? So,
absolutely.
one of your risks is that connectivity. So, to mitigate or address that risk, you would want maybe redundant internet, or a wired internet plus a wireless internet, or maybe cell phone internet, like a hotspot. So those are examples of all right, so you're a business, you should figure out what are the risks to my business. And then based on those risks, which would also help you prioritize how you fix things, the higher risk things you would want to address sooner, right? And so if you have a budget, or if you have limited resources, not just financially, once you do the risk assessment, you've got this list of things that you should address or fix or focus on. And when you know what the rating of those risks are, high, medium, low, now you can start to prioritize. Let's do this year, and this next year, and that the year after. But also do some homework. Reach out, especially with cybersecurity. The North Texas community is so collaborative and supporting. You can call just about any cybersecurity company in North Texas and go, "Hey, I just have a couple of questions. Can you help me?" They will likely just help you, and they'll do that. That's just part of the community support that we have here in North Texas.
And that's very important because as a business person, you think, well, my internet is to Verizon or AT&T and all that, so it's their problem. And the honest answer is,
It's not. And so there's a couple of things there. So whenever you rely on a third party thinking they've got this, it's their problem, think about that really. It's like saying your neighbor's in charge of telling you when someone breaks into your house. Right? How does your neighbor know who belongs in your house? Unless you really know them and they know you, similar to a third party really knowing your business. If Verizon doesn't know your business, if Verizon doesn't know what's normal and what's odd, if Verizon doesn't know what your risks are, how could they be responsible for telling you when bad things happen?
that's true. And this is the point that we try to tell everybody. So just because you're receiving your internet to your house, you're not secure.
Mm-mm.
And if you really want to have fun, connect your computer at a public place, then you're really.
I'll tell you a quick story. So we had a client. So we also do incident response. So when bad stuff does happen, we show up to help put the fire out. And we had one client that said, "Look, we spend millions, big client, millions of dollars a year protecting our environment. Nobody can hack us." Well, you're right. Nobody can hack your company. So bad guys are going to figure out, well, where's the weakest link? I'm not going to keep banging my head on this $1 million security that you guys have put in place to protect your business. I'm going to figure out through social media who are your important people, your CEOs, your IT directors, whoever your important people are. And again, with public information, I'm going to figure out where they live, where do their kids go to school, who are their friends. And they will come and park outside your house and hack that not $1 million security you have at home. And they will put malware or access your computer that you bring home from work and compromise it. So when you take it back to work, now they're inside that $1 million security that you built at work, and they didn't have to break it because they broke your Verizon home network that you thought was protecting you from down the street. Or, and the example in this case was even more separated than that. They found an executive, they followed them home, had good security at home, wasn't successful there, followed the kids, not the neighbor, but a few houses down. And what do we do when we go to a friend's house? Hey, what's your Wi-Fi password?
Oh, yes.
So they compromised the neighbor down the street and waited for the kid to come over, and then compromised the kid's iPad. And when he took it back home, they had access now to the home network. So it is stepping stones, and that's something to think about too, is because a lot of people say, why did I get attacked? I'm nobody. I'm not a big company. I'm not an important person. But you are probably related to a person or a company that the bad guys really want access to.
Wow, I didn't think about that.
No. Honestly, I
And the same with social media. Hey, I got new friend requests from people I don't know. Well, why is that?
How can they, if you accept someone that you don't know as a friend on Facebook, how can they hack your account? Like, I'm sure, I know there's a lot of different ways, like, you receive links and stuff like that, but if you don't click anything or do anything or provide any information, how can they get a hold of your account or hack your account?
So that's difficult. So almost every compromise requires you to interact with something. So, phishing emails where you get an email that looks legit or is enticing enough for you to open, that email has to have embedded malware in the email. So you had to open it for it to affect you. It has to have a link to a bad website. It may say pay your bill here, but really it's taking you to some bad website. So never click the link. Even if the link looks real, it can still not be real. And there's ways to figure that out, but that's a longer discussion. Don't click the link. And then lastly, attachments. Here's your invoice, or here's the shipping information for a package that's delayed. And you open the attachment and then you get infected. Well, those infections allow bad guys to either automate automatically, and they call them credential harvesting. It's software that automatically knows what passwords and user IDs and where to look. And then it packages all that up and sends it to the bad guy. As long as you have internet access, it happens in milliseconds. So there's that. But really, one of the things that bad guys do with social media is if you're not the target, let's back up. If you are the target, they're going to try those tactics. They're going to create a fake account, and we call those sock puppets. A fake account that looks like somebody that you would want to connect with. And so you connect with them. And now they're going to start, hey, I saw that post or that show you did, or you went to the basketball game, and they're going to try and start to build a rapport with you with similar interests and events you went to. And then at some point, they're going to go, hey, there's this new thing. Did you see that the basketball team is going to have a happy hour? Do you want a copy of the flyer? And then the flyer's infected. And so when you open the flyer, they finally got you. And that could be months from now of talking with you to try and build up to sending you something that they think you'll open or click on.
Crazy, huh? Because it can happen, especially now that social media. I see social media more than, talking to friends. Really, you see that as a business. It's your CRM now. That's where you can build great business relationships. That's where you can find great prospects. But then you also have to be very careful because
that's where all your data is.
You build, wow.
Yeah. And so one of the statistics year over year is that the number of successful cyber attacks has gone down. It's gone down because bad guys are like, why are we doing 1,000 when we could just be doing 10? Well, how do we go from 1,000 to 10? Well, instead of just hacking anybody, let's figure out where the most data is. So the volume of compromised data has gone up because they're figuring out, all right, so instead of hacking you to get to your CRM data that's hosted in the cloud, let's just hack the CRM company, and now we have everybody's data.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
So sometimes it's not you, it's
the provider.
The
Or
provider.
whoever's hosting your
Los
stuff.
primeros pasos que él sugiere a la gente que le acaban de hackear su cuenta, toda su información. ¿Qué son los primeros pasos a seguir? Sería bueno que lo dijeran.
Yeah, what he's asking is let's say he's
Your
finds
account is
out
hacked.
that he got hacked, and he's like, "Well, now what do you do?
Mhm.
Where do you go? What? Besides knowing you're hacked,
What's
you
the
might
first
not know
step?
what to do."
Well, the first
Steps anyway.
step should have been yesterday. And so what we tell a lot of people, and I've been trying to evangelize this for a decade. That ounce of prevention. That saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of whatever, is absolutely true. But so is awareness. And what I mean by that is, if you didn't know the number to 911, who would you call if your house was on fire? See what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So you know 911.
Yeah.
So when your house is on fire, you're calling 911.
Right.
Who do you call when your identity's stolen?
The credit bureau.
Who do you call when your account is compromised?
The bank.
Well, maybe. Well, the idea is, today, before something bad happens, think through all of that. Sit down with a piece of paper and go, here are all the things I care about. If that goes badly, if my car is stolen, if my identity is stolen, if my bank account's compromised, if I lose my wallet, if my car's stolen, next column, who do I call? That's what you do. Step one, when something bad happens, is you go back to your notes and go, that's who I call. That's what I do. So we call it an incident response plan. And that's what in the corporate world, we call it an incident response plan. But a lot of individuals don't think that way. We think, well, that's just work. It doesn't, I don't think that way at home. Well, why not? It actually should be the opposite. We should be thinking that way at home so that we bring that awareness to work with us. And so a lot of companies become very successful in adding security and risk management to the culture of the company. You just need to think that way. You need to think, I'm going to do this. What impact does it have? Or I didn't do that. What impact does that have? Or that thing just happened. What impact does that have? And what do I do to address it? What's step one? And I jokingly said for years that a lot of companies, even big companies, their incident response plan, step one was call Mike. Because and you need that in a lot of cases, because when bad stuff happens, we're all emotional. You're freaking out. You need someone that's not involved, that knows, that has some experience with what to do next and who to call and give you advice. You need that. And so whether that's, call your mom when something bad happens and let her, whoever that soothing voice is, that rational thinking, but have that account information, your phone numbers, an email address, whatever it is. Think through your list of black swan events, and think today, what's step one if these things happen?
Yeah, because you look at the fact like ransomware. For a while there, a lot of the small businesses were getting hit with ransomware.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing we would ask if they called was, where's your backup? And is it always open, or do you back up on a certain sequence, but it's not an open sequence? I was surprised how many small businesses did not have backups.
It is surprising.
And I'm like, without a backup.
Here's another funny story. I worked at I was a chief security officer for a $5 billion telecom. And they had an event. But all along the way, every day, we're backing up everything. In fact, that was their policy. Back up everything and keep it forever. And they sent all those tapes off site. And me and the director of risk management would always try to tell management, look, we're not in good shape, even though we're backing up everything and keeping it off site. If we had an event, we don't know which tapes we need. It would take 18-wheelers, truckloads of tapes back to us. And we would be out of business. $5 billion telecom would be out of business before we could recover the data we needed from a significant disaster. Well, not only that, we had an event, and they brought the tape back that we needed, and it was an old 9-track tape that we didn't even have a device to read it anymore. It's how old it was. And so we weren't able to recover because we couldn't find a device to read the tape. So there's a lot of things to think. So you backed up your data. Well, what if you need data from 5 years ago? Where's that data? And can I still read it? Well, then also a lot of things that there's other things that organizations don't think about. If you got ransomware today, statistically, from all the ransomware analysis that's been done, the event today started 6 months ago. They didn't compromise you yesterday. They compromised you 6 months ago. And they were in your network or in your device learning about you and where your pain points are. They're going to find your backups. They're going to find your CRM. They're going to find your session recordings. That's what they're going to hold hostage, so that you're more likely to pay the ransom to get that data back, right? And so a lot of organizations think, well, I've got backups, and we can recover from this. But they recover with data that still has the compromise in it. And so it just happens again and again and again. So how far back do you have to go to restore your data without the malware in it?
And the funny thing, Mike, is a lot of people say, well, I'll just pay the ransom.
Mm-mm.
Well, you're not dealing with a good company. You know, you might give them the money and you're not going to get your data.
So there's a couple things there too that are kind of funny. There are some threat actor groups out there that do operate like a business, so they have ethics, quote unquote. And so the Lazarus group, for example, when they compromise you, they give you a period of time to negotiate with them before they publicize that they have a wall of shame. And so if you negotiate with them, they promise to keep you off the wall of shame because they want their money. And if you do pay them, they will actually tell you how they compromised your network, when it happened, who was involved. They promise never to hack you again. They give you your data back. They give you a tool to recover, and they give you customer support for 30 days. All of that for the bargain price of millions of dollars. But 86%, to your point, 86% of companies that pay the ransom get ransomed again.
It's like a continuous hostages.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, it's so funny because the people that were in there have no safety guards when you get the ransomware. I mean, they're wide open. I mean, anybody. And a lot of times your employees stop at Starbucks and get on the public Wi-Fi.
Yep.
There's people there waiting for you to get on. And woo.
Well, that's any public wireless is suspect because on my phone I can create a hotspot that looks just like a Starbucks hotspot.
Huh.
Wow!
And I can put tools on my phone to knock everybody off the legitimate Starbucks hotspot. And so let me ask you this: when you look at the list of hotspots and you see one that says Starbucks 2.5 or Starbucks 5G, which one are you going to pick?
5G.
Yes.
Because it's faster, right?
Yeah.
So whatever Starbucks Wi-Fi says, maybe it says Starbucks 5G. I'm going to put Starbucks Ultra 5G on mine. And then I'm going to kick everybody off the other one. And when you go back to log in, you're like, oh, Ultra 5G.
We'll go for that one.
I'm sitting here watching shows. I want good streaming. And so now they're going to connect to my phone. And now I can capture all of the traffic that comes through my phone. And so whether it's encrypted or not, I can capture it today and spend however much time I want on my own time. I have your data. I have your login password to your bank. It's encrypted, but I have it. And now I can go build some supercomputer, and hack your password on my time.
Well, see, that's scary because I know. I personally work from a lot of coffee shops, a lot of,
use your cell phone hotspot.
Yeah, use the phone hotspot.
Don't use the public.
It's not part of the system.
Well, they say
Dunkin' Donuts.
Nothing is free.
Yeah, they say don't even charge your phone in a public.
No.
No.
Like at the airport, they say plug it in and charge your phone.
It takes your
Don't
data.
do that because it takes your data.
So there are cables you can buy that have little computers in the end, and it looks like a charging cable, but it's a computer, and it will hack your device.
Yep.
while you're
Even if
charging
it's
your
your
phone.
own charger, they say not to plug it in.
See, I'm gonna come up with one that you plug it up and it translates into Spanish.
There you go.
And charge for it.
And charge
This is
for it.
good translation, okay?
There you
Not
go.
a fake, but the technology. Now imagine cars. Now your car could get infected
Mhm.
while you're driving. It might decide to go a different way than where you're going.
Well, they've actually there's been studies, and these studies go back 4 or 5 years, where I could be driving next to another car, a newer car that has Bluetooth and internet, and from my car I can hack that car and change what the speedometer looks like. I can change the radio. I can turn the lights on and off. I can show that it's in park even though it's in drive. I can apply brakes electronically depending on the car
in the middle of the freeway.
while you're driving.
And here's the funny part: your phone is a talking machine.
Mhm.
If you got your Bluetooth on and you walk through a shopping mall, you know how many stores are picking
You're going
up
to get ads tomorrow for what you said in the store today.
Yeah.
But
just by you walking by.
back to another study they did, a lot of people put their cell phone on the desk next to while they're working. And another study found that malware can infect your cell phone and use the accelerometer in your cell phone to pick up the vibrations of your typing. And the AI is like it's 70 something plus % accurate at picking up what you type just on the vibration.
Mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Sonya's like,
It never ends.
you never end.
no,
How about it when they say, you have an invitation and you click on invitation?
yeah,
Is
be
that
careful.
the same as a social?
Yep. Don't. So, and that's kind of what we try to get people, go to the source. So if you get an email or a text that says there's a problem with your bank, call your bank.
Oh yeah, no.
Don't call the phone number. Don't click the link. If you get an email that says you got a new LinkedIn request, don't mess with the email.
Yeah.
Go to LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It's going to show up there too.
Cause
Go to the source.
Yeah, because I got an email that my Bank of America Gold Card was canceled. I don't even have one.
There you go.
You
I'm
know
like, well,
what?
go ahead and cancel
I was
it. I
about
don't
to
have
say
it.
that. I received a text message. We have declined a transaction on your debit card that ends on, and it has the 4 digits. I'm like, that's not the debit card normally used. So I have more than one debit card, but I'm always using one. Most of the time it's just one. So I look at my other credit cards. I'm like, I don't know. And then I call my husband. I'm like, does your debit card end with this number? He's like, no, we don't have a debit card that ends with those numbers. But I also get a lot of text messages saying, we have your package. It's in the UPS store. If we, call to verify your address, they couldn't find your home address, blah, blah, blah. And of course, I get those all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I get those too. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that get the same message or same email saying,
You're going to get more when you go to public and you got your Bluetooth on walking around shopping malls.
But you're right. A lot of these attacks are just statistical.
Yeah.
So phishing is just like fishing. I'm throwing a net and I'm hoping that I pull one back. And so statistically, we'll just make these numbers easy. If bad guys send out 1 million phishing emails, the success on the initial click is about 22%. So 220,000 people are going to click on that email. Of the 22%, another 26% will actually interact with the attachment or click the link or give them information. So for every 1 day, and they do this every day, millions of emails every day, they get about 40,000 people a day.
Now, here's what we do for our people. We get them a computer that doesn't hold any data or anything. So if it does get ransomware or something, we just wipe it out.
Yep.
Just wipe out the computer and restart it all over again.
But then you've got to have that company policy where the user agrees, I'm not saving anything on this computer, and so that if it is compromised, you truly don't know what it is. But then on the risk assessment side, and we've had to go through this too, the computer was not supposed to have anything on it, but it was stolen or it had malware on it. We still need to figure out, well, what's the value of the what's the impact? Because if they did have information on there and it was compromised, was it financial data, client data, HIPAA data? Do I need to? So there's all that too. because people are people. We do things.
Yeah.
I'm just going to store it for a minute so I can move it to my USB drive, and I'm going to delete it. But is it really deleted?
So it's already on your USB drive.
Well, it's not deleted off the computer either, because hitting the delete button doesn't delete data off.
That's where the forensic people make a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
Now, what about if you have a Soho at home to guard you?
What do you mean?
A Soho protection on top of your when you know, like you got AT&T. We put Soho's controllers. So
Okay. Yep.
it'll let you come in, but trying to get out is going to be a headache.
So there's some great technology out there that can protect us, and there's any number of things. Anti-phishing stuff for your home, stuff for your bank accounts. By the way, one of the things, and well, I'll get to that in my description here. You can have the best technology, millions of dollars of technology, or the cutting edge, whatever it is. If you don't configure it well, if you don't manage it and patch it, and if you don't do anything to monitor it or get the alerts out of it, then it's useless. Yeah. It's a blinky light. So back to my comment earlier, the game today is identification and response. If you can't identify the threat timely, they're going to get further than they should have. And if you can't respond to it effectively, then the likelihood that what they did is really going to have an impact on you just went up. And so to your point about, well, what about at home? Well, I can have that Soho, but are you getting alerts so maybe something did make it in and it's trying to get out? Do you know?
Well, we got Sohos, and then we've got what's the name of that software? I forget. But between the two, it helps. It's not 100% because Microsoft got hacked.
Right. And so
and they got all the fancy equipment.
And there's a lot of organizations that do get hacked, but the bad guys don't know it for similar situation where they've got the security configured that stuff made it in, but it can't make it out.
Right.
Well, you also don't want to be the liability where maybe a vendor, a contractor, or a friend, kid down the street comes over to your house where all this malware can't make it out until it gets on that person's computer and they take it out. They take it up the street, or they take it to that other company, and now you're the liability because you're the one that introduced the risk to them. So you don't want that either.
Well, it's in her job, she's in marketing and sales, so and social media has become a big sales tool now.
For sure,
it's just what it is. So this is where if she sits down and diagrams a day, okay, I connected to the office. Mm-hmm. How did I connect to the office? Was I at home? Was I at Starbucks? So once you start figuring out the danger points, like, okay, I run a risk because I did it at this public location, that's when you really start figuring out, how much danger you're in, mm-hmm. and pretty soon, for example, in my company, they all have to use their hotspots. Mm-hmm. They're not allowed to get on any. Now, we got our computers programmed that they will not connect any public.
Well, that goes back to understanding how the business works and how people use their technology to support the business, and then figuring out, well, where's the risk and how can we mitigate that, similar to some of the things you said your company does.
Yeah, because we got a lot. When I'm not doing the chamber, I have a technology company, but we're more of an infrastructure company. Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm setting up companies like, one of our members, Gable Arciso, Get RC Insurance. We put a Soho, we put him on 365 premium. We put it, it's not 100%, but and of course, he knows when he's on the road, he better use his hotspot. No more public at all. But even then, he's connected to a CRM that's online. And I said, well, mm-hmm. You're on your own.
Don't save your passwords.
You're on your own.
Don't save your passwords in your browser.
But
a marketing example. So we did a response to it for a company that does surveys, like millions of surveys for big brand companies like Nike or Pepsi. Mm-hmm. So they're marketing. The survey company is talking to, let's just say, Pepsi. all right, Pepsi, you want a survey. What's the demographic? How do you want the survey to look? All these things. And so they agree to this stuff. And then there's going to be content that Pepsi sends to the survey company. So we have to set up this computer to allow them, or this website for them to allow Pepsi to send us information. Well, the marketing guy has a laptop and he travels. Well, at some point, his laptop gets hacked. And again, statistically, bad guys don't always know who they hacked. So it takes some time for the bad guy to figure out what he's got. But what he's got is the password to the website where Pepsi is going to send that stuff. Well, they figure out what this website is. So they access the site. Pepsi, again, just example, Pepsi drops their files, and he knows now that these are going to go into a survey that are going to go out to millions of people. So he infects the files that go into the survey that went out to 1 million people. So not only is who sent the email at risk, my reputation, I just sent dirty stuff, but think of the impact it had to Pepsi's brand.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's what I meant earlier too, about bad guys are getting smarter about what they're spending their time on. So the number of breaches are down, but the volume is up.
Volume the city of Dallas not too long ago.
Yeah, that's again actually.
Again.
So the city and the county,
and they got full-time tech guys that are sitting there trying to avoid it. Like
the city of Granbury was compromised over a month ago, and they're still not doing well.
Really?
Was it ransom or just an attack?
Ransom.
Oh. Well, I know 2 companies that paid lots of money, and they forgot that you can't report those people to consumer protection. They paid and didn't get nothing.
Right.
I'm like, you're dealing with criminals, folks.
Well, and back to making sure you've got your house in order on the inside. We did another breach response to a company that thought they only had, I think 3 or 4 million in cyber insurance, but the bad guys wanted 8 million in ransom, and they weren't going to pay it initially, but they determined over the weekend that they needed to because they couldn't get some of this data back. They didn't have good backup architecture. But how are they going to pay for it? Well, then they realized, we have 2 $4 million cyber policies. Nobody knew. Well, then, so they're happy only to find out then that these insurance policies are also self-funded. So it helps them today, but they're going to have to put back into it over time. And so
a lot of times those people are out of the country too, aren't
they? And so we also get asked from a forensics perspective, insurance companies often call us to determine how this breach happened. Is it poor practice? Did it were the attackers, from overseas, or was it, someone in Oklahoma? Because a lot of those things are part of the small print in your cyber insurance policy. And so in one case, it was a pretty large breach, pretty large ransom, and the insurance company denied the claim because the policy says it only covered domestic attacks, and it came from overseas.
Is that a surprise?
Wow.
You pay it or you lose it. But just think about, like Mike was saying, you've really got to take access of your technology. If you have a business computer and you let your kids use it, and you don't know where your kids are going on the internet and all that, you could open up the door to anything.
For sure.
So it's kind of like, you hate to spend that much money, but you almost want to have their computer, It's nothing to do with yours. And now parents, you go to eat and all the kids are on iPads. They don't even talk anymore. Like, I said, what are you doing? I'm texting them. I'm like, you're across the table.
I'll tell you funny. So sometimes malware is actually legitimate software. And so there was an application and it was primarily iPads for kids. It was called Talking Tom. Do you know Talking Tom?
Yes, I remember Talking Tom.
Talking Tom was the number 1 malware for like 7 years running. Not because, all right, so why didn't it get taken out of the Apple Store? Any thoughts? Because they were upfront in the description of the app, whenever you agree to give it access to stuff, it says we're going to take all of your contact information, all your call logs, everything out of your device, and you agreed to that when you installed it.
But most of your apps ask you that, believe it or not. You
But we
download an
don't
app.
we don't spend the time. I mean, we don't have the.
You're just
We
like,
don't
here.
give you click. Yeah. I mean, especially when they have like 20-page of agreement that
Yeah.
you have to read, to
Nobody
download,
does.
and
No.
nobody does. Yeah.
And they know that.
They do.
There's
They
this
know
other
that.
comments that social engineering is real.
Oh, absolutely real.
Ruth Medrano said it.
And there's salespeople social engineer people all the time. They figure out, and that's what social engineering is. It's understanding the human psyche and figuring out how to manipulate it or take advantage of it for a purpose. That's social engineering. There's actually a pretty good book by Ian Mann called Hacking the Human. And Kevin Mitnick wrote other books too about social engineering. But the idea, and kids do this to us all the time. And so, you're in the grocery store and they're throwing a fit. Well, why are you throwing a fit? Because I want that thing. Well, if I get you that thing, will you stop throwing a fit? Yeah, but they just social engineered you. So they manipulated you. Well, you do the same thing. Cyber criminals do the same thing. They call in the middle of the night to talk to the person that never gets to talk to anybody. They build rapport. And then one day, over a period of time, or that new social media connection you got, they start asking for more and more and more and more. And because you built up trust. Well, then there's other types of social engineering. So there's the trust, there's coercion, there's intimidation, there's manipulation. There's all these things, and it happens all the time for good reasons and bad reasons.
I get it from American Express all the time. Your card has been compromised. Call right away.
Yeah.
Or if you've ever tried to cancel your gym membership.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't even have an American Express card.
They're like, you want a what? That's how it's, but you look at the things nowadays. Everybody wants your cell phone.
Mhm.
You go shopping. Is your cell phone number registered? We give you sales. Now you don't know where this marketing data is coming to you. You just gave them your cell phone number. And people don't realize it's not secure.
It really isn't. And back to something you said earlier with your cell phone's always listening. It's not just listening. It's learning about you as a person. Where do you go? How long do you spend there? Who do you call? Who do you talk to? What did you eat? When did you stop walking or get up from your desk? It learns your behavior. And those companies and those apps are selling that information all day long.
And making big money.
Yeah, when you go walking, I go on my watch to track the walking. It goes to my phone.
Oh yeah, and it tells you when to record your walking. If it seems like you're, they know.
Or
that
there's
you're-
scales now where it's not just your weight, but it's your whole biofeedback about your bone mass. Like, maybe your bone density is down, and now you're getting ads for vitamin D, things like that.
So what can we do? I mean, because we have to have a phone, we have to have technology, we have to. There's really, I mean, what are some tips or advice you can give to prevent, from being hacked? Or, I mean, there's really not much we can do from what we're talking about, but just share some ideas.
Sadly enough, if you want to prevent it, you just have to unplug it all and throw it in the water. There is no way to prevent it, and so my next best suggestion is
Can you throw this out the window, please?
my next best suggestion is to figure out what all those risks in your life are.
Yeah.
If you rely on your car, you need to mitigate the risks to your car. If you rely on whatever it is, internet, the contacts in your phone, your computer, your relationships, your social media, whatever it is, find out what those risks are and prioritize those things. And then be prepared for when something bad happens, because it's going to happen. Statistically, everybody in the world's identity has already been stolen. You just don't know it. It hasn't affected you yet. So that's a bad example, but you've got to be prepared.
It is what it is.
Right? So I used to joke all the time, I mitigate the risk of my identity being stolen by maintaining bad credit. But The idea, but that's one strategy, right?
Yeah.
And so I carry high balances so nobody else can get another credit card. But really, thinking through what matters most to you and figuring out what you're going to do when something bad happens. Like I've had to, given the diversity in my background, both physical security and cyber, I've had to educate my kids, even when they were young, 9, 10 years old. If we come home and you don't see the dog in the back window waiting to get pet by you, you don't go in the house. Because if that dog's not there, there's a reason. Even if he's sleeping on the couch, don't go in the house if you don't see the dog. Make noise. See if you can get him. Do not go in the house. Because bad guys will do whatever it takes to get what they want, given enough time and resources. It will happen 100% of the time, given enough time and resources. The whole Sun Tzu, 1,000 grains of sand thing. So what you have to do is put layers between bad guy and what you care about, so that as they compromise each layer, you have time to identify, hey, I'm being attacked, and you have time to respond. Maybe you move that thing, or you change your password, or whatever, you back it up. So if you think about your house, you've got the street, the curb, the sidewalk, the yard, the fence, the walls, the doors, the windows, your alarm system, your dog, any other weapons you may have. All of those things give you some comfort, right? You don't sit in your couch at home worried that a car is going to come crashing through your house, because there's a curb and a yard and a fence. And so you're going to hear the screech of the tires and the crash, and you're going to have time to get up and get out of the way. Or you're in another part of the house and you hear the alarm beep because someone opened a door. You're at least aware now. Maybe not enough time to respond at that point. But the idea is, attacker comes off the street to the curb, to the sidewalk, to the yard. All these things give you time to identify and respond. Think about the stuff you want to protect in your life or in your business, and think about how many layers you can put between it and bad things happening, and figure out a way to become aware and able to respond. And here's the catch: 24 hours a day.
Yeah. And you notice here, they have Wi-Fi. And Angel will give you the Wi-Fi. All my equipment's tied to my hotspot. I will not use anything that's outside of my hotspot. Now, the difference between a hotspot and Wi-Fi is when you get on a Wi-Fi like that, it's one too many.
Mm-hmm.
When you get your hotspot, it's 1-to-1. It's just you.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody else can get
unless
on
you
your
share
line.
it.
Unless you share it, and if you let somebody else get in. So a lot of it is just like Mike says, it's practice. You go in there and say, okay, she knows it, everybody in my family knows it. Do not use public Wi-Fi's. Or you're looking for a good chance of getting hacked.
Or public charging stations.
Or public charging station, anything that's in. The other part is create a cell phone number, or through some service and everything, that when the stores and everything ask you for that number, you give them that number, not your actual cell phone number.
So Google will do that for you. You can get a free Google phone number, and whenever someone calls that, you can forward it to your cell phone, and that person would never have your cell phone number.
Right.
You can do the same thing with Gmail email accounts.
Yeah.
So if I have Mike at Gmail, that's who I would give to my friends. Mm-hmm. But if a company like Facebook or LinkedIn or Best Buy, if they want my Gmail, I can, and it's free. It's included. People just don't know you can do this. You can do mike.bestbuy@gmail.com. And now I know if I start getting spam emails, it's because Best Buy did it. It still comes to your Mike at Gmail.
Yeah.
But it says in the address that it was addressed to mike.bestbuy@gmail. Or Mike.LinkedIn, or Mike.Facebook, or Mike.TractorSupply.
It's just a lot to keep track of.
Security is a problem, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
So, and that's the balance.
That's
and it goes back to, well, how secure can we be? Well, if it ultimately secure, you can't use it. right? You have to balance usability with security, and that's where a lot of people are like, I would rather it be really usable. Well, guess what? It's not real secure.
Well, it's like Mike said, best way is you throw away your computer, your iPad. Now you're secure, but
Well,
that's
we're gonna
not
be
the real
here
world.
raised for the rest of our life because we can't live without a phone and a computer and being that's just
But keep good
Yeah.
backups. So there's
I mean,
companies like VM, VEEAM,
Veeam.
Veeam that helps you with your data. It's not free though, but it's how valuable is your data.
right.
Carbonite's another one.
Carbonite's another one. You can go through things of securing yourself without overdoing it. Uh, but I think uh, we're going to be talking about that with the chamber because we foresee in the next 5 years with what we're projecting and what Mike sees, and I'm very glad that he's here because he knows a lot more than we do. Uh, and you are going to have to do that. I mean, it's not going to be an if. It is
It's a
going to
win.
be you're going to do it or you're going to pay the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest problem right now for business is marketing and salespeople. They are the ones that, infrastructure wise, I always tell the company owner, how many salespeople do you have and how are they connecting to your office? And how do you restrict them from going to public Wi-Fi's and all that?
Mm-hmm.
And the owners go, what? But no, that is your problem.
It is.
So just think about on a day, just how many times you get on things. And if you write it down, you're going to go, wow, because you weren't tracking that.
Right.
And how many of those websites did you go to that you would normally have to log into, but when you go there, it logs you in automatically?
Yeah.
That's a bad sign. Do not store passwords. Do not store payment information anywhere possible.
But can I do that like on my iPad where I always use my personal spot and everything?
Wouldn't do it.
Nope. Can't do it.
Especially with Apple products, because all I need to do is compromise your iCloud account, and now I have access to every device you've got connected to your
That's why
iCloud
I have
account.
Android.
iPad is the biggest target for those.
So don't store
people,
credit information. I mean, I've memorized my credit card number, so I'm pretty good at the 10 key. And don't store
It's
passwords.
just
in.
very convenient because all you gotta do is put the.
Well, that's why
CVV.
gas stations get robbed because they're convenience stores, right?
And you're conveniently giving them your data.
It's very convenient for bad guys.
They go, gee,
Oh my god!
They may send you a Christmas card.
I'm gonna have to go reset my iPad and remove all my face, because I log in into most of
The face,
my.
the
facial recognition and the thumbprints, those are fine.
Okay, then I think that's what I do with 4 minutes. Because I do have regular websites that I visit or that I log into, and I do have those saved in with my face.
That's okay.
Okay.
That part's okay because that's encrypted biometric stuff.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. You see, I'm glad I asked the question because I was about to go and just.
Second thing I would recommend is do multi-factor authentication on everything. And do not save it.
Yeah.
In other words, when I log in at LinkedIn, it sends me a code, and I put in the code, and it goes, "We now recognize. Do you want me to remember this computer?" No, I want to do this every time.
Oh my god! Yeah,
I do that with my bank. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want me to use this computer all the time? I put no.
Oh wow!
So it's real. Rod Medrano is.
Oh, yeah, we answered.
talked
Yeah.
about it. Like,
Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, you have a few minutes to call in. Otherwise, we'll see you at 2:00. Believe it or not, Mike's going to do a portion in Spanish.
Wow!
And how about that? Mike didn't even know that.
I did not. I know a few things in Spanish.
But those are the few things that you're gonna share with the Spanish audience in Spanish.
It's all the sayings that they teach you in high school.
Now, I got a question, Mike. Somebody hacked my account and they sent me a check because they said, boy, your bank account looks bad. So I'm helping you pay your monthly bills. That would be good.
Depends. That's my default answer because what if that check bounces? So your account's deficient $100. They send you $5,000, and they say, "Hey, keep 4 and send me 1,000." So you go cash the check, and you write them $1,000, and then the check bounces, and now you're $1,100 in the hole.
I don't look good behind bars, so no, thank you.
So,
But anyway, thank you.
You didn't win the lottery from someone you never met. That check that arrived in your mail isn't for you if you didn't expect it. Don't check the tracking on a package you weren't expecting.
No.
And
Common sense.
Yes, pretty much use common
Just
sense.
common sense.
A lot of people don't use common sense, and I think that's a problem we're having.
And back to social engineering, they're going to make it feel, they're going to emotionally charge whatever the situation is to make you feel like you've got to respond urgently. Yeah. And that a lot of times takes common sense. That they're like, oh, that short circuit my common sense. I got to do something now.
And ladies and gentlemen, the time is up, and we're going to come back at 2 o'clock in Spanish. Believe it or not, it's going to be a first for Mike. But he's willing to do it. I mean, I'm proud of him. He's like, okay.
We'll give it a shot.
We'll give it a shot. But anyway, we're going to play some music. We'll be back at 2 o'clock. And thank you. Mike, before we go, how do they contact you?
855-BLK-SWAN or contact at blackswancybersecurity.com.
Now, I got to warn you, he knows what he's talking about. So, so anyway, thank you so much for everyone. Be careful. We'll be back in Spanish. Adios.
Have a great week. Adios.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
That's what I think my daughter, one of my daughters, she does internet security for herself.